So Soul Hackers 2 and Nintendo Switch has become a hot topic lately, and today me and a special guest are going to discuss what we think about Soul Hackers 2 possibility on Switch and sales numbers on top of that. So sit back, relax, and let's get it on. Hey guys, what's going on? King Narakami here, and today I am joined by my good friend David Casty RPGs. How you doing today, David?
Hey, what's up? Glad to be here. Hot topic indeed. Should be interesting for today for sure. Thanks for having me on again.
Definitely a hot topic, and thanks for being on. I don't know how many of you guys that watch my YouTube videos follow Twitter drama and stuff. I think Twitter drama is stupid. But lately, Soul Hackers 2 has been a very hot topic with its sales numbers and the lack of a Nintendo Switch version. So, I made a video before on Soul Hackers 2, the possibility of a Switch port, but we're not going to focus on what happened then. We're going to focus on right now after launch and where we stand, how we feel about Soul Hackers 2 coming to Switch and the sales numbers and everything. And I don't want to turn this into a whole video saying, oh, Soul Hackers 2 flopped and that, because we do not know what Atlus's projections for this game was. So I think calling it a flop might be a little premature right now. To some people it might, but it is what it is. Some people will say it flopped, some people say it didn't.
And I have to say something right here. We absolutely don't know the sales expectations. You're correct. No numbers were given about their expectations. That being said, I always bring it up. Now, if some of y'all listening watched some of my previous videos on the subject, I had you on the channel to discuss a similar topic amongst other things. Atlus and Sega, they had, I think it was in their last quarter for last year, they had a fiscal report that went public. And there was one slide in particular where they were describing what they wanted to do with their various IPs. They wanted to bring back older titles, and they wanted to have pillar IPs, pillar titles, like important titles. And in that list, there was 3 Atlus IPs. There was, of course, Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, and also Soul Hackers. And I remember reporting on that on my channel. I was like, hey, why Soul Hackers? That means they're going to do something. It's a dead IP at this point. It's a 25-year-old game. It was ported, okay, but it's far from a pillar IP. And in my mind, pillar title, I don't know about you, but that sounds like something that you want to be big. You want numbers not exactly like Persona, not exactly like SMT, obviously, but you want it to stand next to those titles. And the sales of Soul Hackers 2, they stand next to very, very, very small titles in Atlus catalog, not Persona and SMT, far from it. Right.
And to preface this, let me say a pillar IP could mean, somewhere in the realms of low budget and high reward. Soul Hackers 2 is not the most technically advanced game. I'll put it out there. It looks pretty with all of its colors, but it's definitely not like a PS5 current gen game, and there's not a whole lot going on with it. But that's just me. They could have, set the budget low, and then maybe they've already broke even on this thing. We don't know. But in terms of sale numbers, and I know we don't want to turn this into a sales debate, because good God, we've had enough of that lately. But let me just give you a little tidbit of information here. For the Devil Summoner opening sales comparisons, of course, according to Persona Central, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner, released in 1995, for 355,656 copies, week 1, physical copies. After that, Soul Hackers in 1997, released as well, 168,850 and 258,678. Not bad numbers. And then you go all the way to the bottom. You have the PS4 version of Soul Hackers 2 coming in at number 7 with 31,604 copies sold in the first week. And for the PS5 version, 20,257. So, like games like Raido Kuzunoa versus King Abaddon and the Soulless Army did way better than that. Is that a product of our times today, David? Do you think digital sales might help that a little bit? What do you think about comparing physical sales in 2022?
A lot of shit, actually, for using those exact comparisons that you just did on my video about sales of Soul Hackers. And I was clear and kind of bold about it, saying that it was underwhelming. I think it's completely fair because you're comparing physical numbers to other physical numbers. Now, obviously, in 2022, they sell digital games. Now, you name some games that were not even available for sale digitally. But if you look at the differences in numbers, it's huge. And in Japan specifically, which is the region that we're using for the sales comparison here, it's about 50-50 for digital physical ratio in Japan. So you can just do times 2. It sold 100,000 copies probably during its first week in Japan, physical and digital. It's obviously just an estimation, but still. And that's still lower than all the other games that you mentioned. So
I know Atlas was marketing heavy for a digital release for this game, with like the digital deluxe version and everything, and all those shitty DLC practices, which we won't get into because this would turn into a
didn't help it.
Video. No, it did not.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm sure it didn't help. I've heard of a lot of people who were interested, kind of like not insanely hyped, but kind of interested. But because of all the DLC thingy, they're like, oh, I'll just wait for a prize drop. It's not even complete, so I'll just wait. And honestly, I'm not in that train, but I get it. I'm a content creator. I'm an Atlas content creator, and I didn't even buy the DLC for Soul Hackers 2 yet. I'm playing Xenoblade, and I'm good. I don't really feel like going back. And I love the game, but I'm looking at the DLC, and I'm like, I just don't need it. And I'm broke as fuck, too. So.
I feel that. Obviously, physical sales in Japan haven't been too hot. Like we said before, numerous times, we don't know what Atlas's break-even point for this title is, so take everything with a grain of salt. This is a digital age that we're in 2022 compared to, Raito coming out back in the day on the PS2, where there was no physical copies, like we said. So take everything with a grain of salt. They marketed this heavy for a digital release, so maybe those digital numbers did help, and again, we don't have numbers for the States. Those numbers are strictly in Japan only. So let's get into this little Switch discussion. So, I know people are gonna hate us for this, and really, with this video, you kind of need to come in with an open mind. We're not port begging for Switch version. If that's what you think, you can get the hell off the video, leave your dislike, and leave. I don't give a shit. But, David, coming from you, do you think a lack of a Switch version is the reason the game, quote-unquote, underperformed according to the less than stellar numbers that Soul Hackers 2 has had so far?
It's not the reason, but it's one of the reasons. That's for sure. And I honestly think, I made that clear on Twitter yesterday, on the day that we're recording this video. I think you gotta be delusional if you think the Switch version wouldn't have helped it. Honestly, I'm thinking the Switch version and how massive and huge it is in Japan, I think it would have doubled the first week of sales.
Right.
It wouldn't put it next to Persona 5 or SMT5, far from it. I just want to make that clear. There's other issues that we'll talk about in this video about this game that a Switch version can't help, right? So, but I honestly, and I strongly feel like it would have helped it quite a bit.
So you're talking like a 75 to 100% increase in its sales, probably. Somewhere around along those lines.
I'm thinking 50,000 copies physically in Japan first week.
Because we gotta understand, since this was only made on like PS4, PS5, Xbox, and PC, some people who do have Switches that would buy on Switch probably ended up buying it on PS4 and PS5 anyways. So we can't really count that. But maybe a 75 to 100% increase in the sales. The numbers are there. Every time a Switch version of a game comes out for Atlas, it pretty much is the exact same sale numbers for the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch versions increase a little bit. So the numbers are there. They don't lie. Nocturne Remaster did really good on Switch, even though of the shitty quality of the port, of course. But that's something to think about.
It doubled the sales of, like, Nocturne HD did 103,000 copies digitally in its first week in Japan, if I recall correctly. Now, it's SMT, right? It's more popular than Soul Hackers. I get it, 100%. But it's a crusty-ass port.
Right. With
tons of DLC not included. And there was a lot of controversy with it. And it was $50. And it sold twice what Soul Hackers 2 did.
Right. And by the way, David made a little slip of the tongue. He said digitally, those were the physical numbers.
Yeah, physical. Yeah, thank you for clarifying.
Now, I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I think the Switch version could have helped, but I don't think it's the be-all, end-all solution. So, David, in your estimation, what do you think that could have improved so that Soul Hackers 2 could have been more like sold like a Nocturne Remaster, or, we're not saying that it was going to sell like SMT5 to begin with, because they marketed that heavily with Nintendo and everything, but how do you think it would sell better like those two titles?
There's a lot of things, and I don't want to like talk for the rest of the video, so I'm just gonna do one thing, and it's honestly the first thing that came to mind when they revealed it in February. Soul Hackers 2 was not the right choice for the title. It was not the right choice. You don't name it 2 of a game that came out 25 years ago on Saturn. That doesn't work in my mind. Like, some of my I found one of my colleague at work. I found out recently that he's an Atlas fan. I found that out in June. He was like, "Hey, I'm playing SMT5 right now." I was like, "Ooh, that's dope. That's really awesome." And I was like, "Yeah." It wasn't in June. It was in July. I was like, "Yeah, I'm playing Soul Hackers 2 right now. I have a review copy." He's like, "So what?" He had no idea, and he played like Persona 5, he played SMT5, so the mainstream audience, but not just the mainstream audience who plays Pokemon, but the mainstream audience who plays JRPGs, they didn't even know about that game, and I'm pretty sure the title didn't help it. I feel like that game is a reboot. If they want to make it a pillar title, if we see sequels, that means they rebooted this series pretty much. Yes, it has Devil Summoner references, it has Soul Hackers references, but I feel like a different name would have helped it. You could maybe even call it the Soul Hackers or something. I don't know, but they could have reused the name. Just Soul Hackers would have worked, because the original is Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. So I don't know. That feels like a first misstep in my mind.
There's a lot that we can discuss about what they could improve. We didn't even hit on, that kind of ties into marketing as well. You could say that the marketing could have been better. But I'm pretty much in agreement with you. Slapping on that 2 at the end of the title kind of didn't do it justice. And so people are like, well, it's different with Persona 5. Persona has been around for a while. The Soul Hackers, even the Devil Summoner series, has been dormant for quite some time now. So that's something to think about. So I want to know what you think about why wasn't there a Switch version at all in the first place?
We don't know, right? So we're just speculating, but if I had to bet, I would say obviously the Switch is weaker than all the other platforms that it came to, and I'm thinking it would have required more funds right there at launch, and being uncertain about what Soul Hackers 2 would sell, maybe they just felt like, hey, it's probably not worth the investment, or at least not at launch. They know that we'll double dip, and to be clear, I'm confident now with the sales numbers that they're gonna give us a Switch port later down the line, and I think those numbers will be extremely interesting. Honestly, can I bring up something that I polled on my channel recently?
Of course.
I think it's related to the topic at hand. 5 days ago, I polled, have you played Soul Hackers 2? If you have, did you or do you enjoy the game? And well, first of all, there was an option for I'm waiting for a price cut, and that's 46% of the voters out of 3,000 people. And in my comment section, crazy. I don't want to exaggerate, but I feel like 2/3 of the comments are I'm waiting for a Switch port.
Right.
I mean, you whether you like it or not, you can't deny that the Switch is extremely popular, and obviously I have a Western audience, mostly Western people, but in Japan it's way more popular than it is in the West. So it's, yeah, really makes you wonder. I just feel like it was a bad decision overall. That was it was worth the investment. It really was.
Maybe it was a thing of, we got this game that we're almost finished with right here. We don't have enough time to finish Switch port because optimization and everything. I mean, I'm not saying that Soul Hackers is like a poorly optimized game or anything, but it might take a little manpower to get this running decently on Switch. I mean, sometimes they can chug on PS5 at times. So Digital Foundry proved that as well in the past few days. So it will require a lot of optimization. So just to wrap it up right here, you think a Switch version is still possible? When do you think it might come out?
I 100% think it's gonna happen at some point. Like, I'm very, very confident, especially if Atlas wants to keep Soul Hackers as an IP running. If they looked at those numbers and they were like, fuck it, we're dropping Soul Hackers completely, well then, no. I don't think they're gonna end Soul Hackers with a Switch port. Not at all. But if they want to do a Soul Hackers 3 later down the line, they're gonna do the Switch version. They're gonna get more money out of it. Hell, look at 13 Sentinels. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim came out in 2020 on PlayStation 4, $60 Vanillaware game in September of 2020 for the West. And it came out in April of this year on Switch. And the first week of sales in Japan were the same numbers as the original launch on Switch on PlayStation 4 2 years prior. And that's a $60. That was a $60 port on Switch. Honestly, I'm expecting the same thing to happen with Soul Hackers 2, if not more. Because when you look at Soul Hackers 2 and you look at SMT5, you can see the similarities. So I think that people who played SMT5 who enjoyed it, played Nocturne HD who enjoyed it, will look at that and will be like, hell yeah, that looks dope. I'm buying that again. If the game comes out on Switch, I'll be more excited about the first week of sales in Japan than to actually replay it on Switch, to be honest.
Don't take all those first week of sales in Japan as like, this is the game does bad, because it could sell more in the future. Actually, totally. Since Soul Hackers 2 has launched, I saw a lot of negativity before it launched, and now that it has, I've seen a lot of, and except for the the whole sales numbers and everything, I'm seeing a lot of positivity behind Ringo and the characters and the gameplay. People that actually play the game tend to like it.
Yep.
So, well, I mean, you give the game a fucking chance. I mean,
and I do want to say as well, again, the first week of sales is not the be all end all.
Right.
13 Sentinels, the example that we just used, an Atlas published title developed by Vanillaware, that game was like, it almost didn't chart in the NPD sales chart for the West when it came out. But it turned out great. It still sold like 400,000 copies or something at some point. It ended up doing pretty well because of word of mouth. And I honestly feel like even without the Switch version, Soul Hackers 2 has a shot at doing that. It released right next to Xenoblade, in between Xenoblade and Persona 5 Royal to modern platforms. There was a lot of things against it.
Let me just say, the Switch port of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim outsold Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on PS4, Switch. I mean,
times.
And this is a game that is not on modern console. It was only available on PS3 and 360. So, I mean, it outsold Persona 4 with a $60 port of a 2-year-old game. Just saying. That's something to think about. So, I fully expect Soul Hackers to come back. David, I think we're on the same side there. Let me know what you guys say in the comments section. Do you think Soul Hackers has a chance of getting a Switch port? Do you think the sales numbers will pick up because of word of mouth? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, subscribe to David. I know you probably already do since you watch me. We do a lot of collaborations together. But David, thank you so much for being on here. Subscribe to my channel as well if you like this video. Leave a like as well. And we'll see you in the next video. King.
Bye.